experiment.
So we're all good to go. Thanks for coming, Alex.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Bit of a drive, but I can deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, we've known each other for ages, man. Like, I think you and Simon are literally my first friends.
Yeah, I was saying that to my mates last night. I'm like, I'm gonna go see probably my oldest friend, older than all you guys.
Yeah.
So literally, you would have been I think I was 5 and you were 4 and Simon was 3 or something like that when we met. Something like that.
I actually
Maybe even 2, 3, 4. It might have even been that early. Like,
yeah, we were pretty young, man.
super young. And I just remember being jealous of you had your orange bike and you could ride 2 wheels, and you could already ride 2 wheels, and before you even went to school, I couldn't even ride 2 wheels. I was like,
that was the mongoose bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do skids down our driveway.
Mad skids, down the hill, down your
Yeah.
because now it's completely different, that place. You know, there's a house where it used to just be gravel, but that was awesome. We came down, fly through, and just massive skids on the gravel in front of your place. That was so sick.
And I think they eventually put like a concrete like car park just after the gravel.
Yeah. So
because I remember like the skid marks. All over.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I don't know if it was you or Simon, but I remember meeting. I think it was Simon. I'm pretty sure it was Simon.
I think Simon was first.
Yeah.
Across the road.
Yeah. And we were like calling out each other's names, and I thought he said Jaiman.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Jaiman?
That's funny. Yeah, I remember that story as well. Yeah, that's crazy. We're so little.
Yeah, man. I remember I used to get in trouble at your house all the time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were pretty naughty.
Yeah, but
we were pretty naughty. But we were like, I was naughty. We were all naughty. Simon was really naughty. You were naughty. I was naughty. I was like quite sneaky about how naughty I was. Got away with a lot of stuff. Simon wasn't. It was easy because Simon's just a bowling ball, wrecking everything in its path, and I'm just in behind, like egging him on.
Yeah, and I think it was like I wasn't really watched that much in my place. I was just hanging out with my dog. Just doing whatever I wanted.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, but you guys always had your parents around. So you guys kind of knew the rules around the house. I would just like come and fuck shit up.
Yeah. My parents always say like, they owe your parents for a lot of, like, because we went over whenever we go to your house, and they just gave my parents a break. Like, sweet, we'll just let them babysit. It's like they're babysit. I remember going to we used to go to the pools all the time, the tepid baths with your dad.
Which ones?
The tepid baths down at the bottom of like near the viaduct, behind the viaduct, like near where Danny Doolan's is and stuff.
I don't even remember that.
Whereas a pool, there's a pool, and your dad would just go in the sauna, and we'd just go in the pool, and we'd just unsupervised.
Oh, near the city.
Yeah,
I know the one. Yeah.
And we'd just be unsupervised, like 6, 7, 8 years old or something. Just like just run around the pools, like.
Yeah, he used to take us to like Motat.
Yeah.
Rainbow's End.
Yeah.
Take us out to Rainbow's End.
Pretty sick.
Yeah. My dad was cool like that. Just take us out and take us wherever. Yeah,
and that was, my parents were just like, oh, sweet, we can have a break from Simon.
Man, from Simon.
Yeah. He was insane.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm only 14 months in.
Yeah. It can. It's interesting. I mean, twins is a different situation, like, because like as an older brother, I think I definitely like made it worse. You'd be like, you get him angry,
egg him on,
you get him riled up and stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes I made it better. But yeah, it'd be an interesting dynamic with twins. They'll definitely be egging each other on.
Oh, they just, sometimes they're best friends, sometimes they're worst enemies.
Yeah.
At this stage, I don't know if they have they've built up the intelligence to piss each other off.
Right.
Like, maybe they do it by accident.
Yeah.
But it's not like on purpose, like trying to get them angry. It's just like, I want the fucking toy.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me the fucking toy.
Yeah, yeah.
And like they would just fight over a toy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's not about they're not. Yeah, they're certainly not thinking about other people.
Yeah, it's everything's just about them.
You can only think about themselves.
It's kind of cool because they have kind of learned. Like sometimes they'll trade toys, or sometimes they'll like cuddle each other and be nice to each other, which is cool. But sometimes, man, they're just like pulling each other's hair, like hitting each other in the head of shit.
Yeah, that's good fun, you know.
Yeah,
that's always good fun. Like have a fight that gets a little out of hand, but it's fun.
That's how it is. That's how it is.
Yeah,
I imagine like as they get older, being girls, it's gonna be more like, you know, passive aggressive kind of stuff.
More about comments than physicality.
That's how it is, though. Like the psychology between like males and females.
Yeah, the way they interact is very different. The way they
Yeah, I read a book about it. I read a book, Raising Girls in the 21st Century. And he's talking about how like with boys, like they'll just like be dicks to each other, and it's just fun. Yeah, you know, it's just like
get over it.
It's just like sparring, like verbally sparring. Like no one really cares, and even if you have a physical fight, like you just get over it straight after. Yeah. Whereas with chicks, there's no like, it's not like a release of that stuff. It's just like behind each other's backs, so nothing's ever like confronted about it, and that's why they get real like emotional about shit. Yeah. And that's why today, like, man, all the suicides and shit. Yeah,
it's crazy. That's social media's like really messed that stuff up for girls. It's really bad for girls more than it is for boys, I think.
Yeah, it's like magnifying everything, eh?
Yeah, because then you're not just thinking about my 6 friends. They're you know, they're all talking behind my back. It's like, well, no, everyone in this class and school is the 1,500 people I'm friends with on Instagram or follow me on Instagram. They, you know, I'm thinking about all of them now. It's like.
And it's not just at school, it's like 24/7.
Yeah.
On hand. Yeah. But going back to when we were kids, man, some crazy times, man. Like when Simon ran through that glass door.
It's a good deal. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the fuck?
Right. That's how he rolls.
Because I remember running past the door.
Yeah.
Because it was like slightly open or something.
Yeah.
And he just ran through it. And I was like, what the fuck?
It probably wasn't particularly clean or anything. Like it wouldn't have been like, you know, hard to see. Like just ran into it. Like oh, he's an idiot. Yeah. That's Simon's.
That's
nature.
who he is.
He's the one that runs into it.
Yeah.
Like a classic one was I went to Snow Planet. Me and him and a couple of our mates when we were maybe like I was like maybe 14. He was 12, something around that age. And we were racing down, you know, we're just going up to top and then racing down.
Yeah.
My mates they both had done a lot more skiing, so they were better, but there's not much skill. You just go down. And so then we're like, you just got to have the balls to go down. And so go down, and then at the end you go, I got to figure out how to stop now. And you'd always like dodging people, and it's real scary. And then I just remember one time going, I was like, oh yes, I won. And I went over someone's, because there's a big line of people getting on the T-bar, and I went straight over someone's skis, and then like did a real sharp turn, and I was like, oh my god, and like almost ran up in the wall. And then I turn around, and then Simon just straight into the wall, like into the window, because of the glass that everyone can see. And there's like a lady inside, like eating some food, and she was like, I got a massive fright, and I was like, oh my god, did he even try to slow down? Like, nah, straight into it.
The same guy.
Funny. Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, that's how he rolls.
Man, I remember that time we're like on the road or some shit, and we were just like screaming. I was like screaming like Jigglypuff, and your dad came out, and like your dad thought like someone got ran over or some shit. And we were just like
screaming. I remember actually we did a lot of screaming and yelling. Let's just be loud for the sake of being loud.
Yeah.
You and Simon, I think, egged each other on in that regard. You guys were both quite loud people.
Yeah.
Just with the screams.
Man, I remember being at your house once, and I don't know, I forgot who he was. There was some kid that he used to come over to your place, and then He just pissed out the window one day.
Oh, was that kid who lived up the road?
Yeah, I think he came from
Hayden or something.
He came from like a rough, like.
There was a couple kids that ended up coming around our place. Wait, it wasn't Bailey, was it? It was probably Bailey.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. He just pissed out the window.
He was Simon's mate, and yeah, he was a crazy character. He was like, he's.
I think after he pissed out the window, that's when he wasn't allowed to come over anymore.
yeah. Just there's some. There's been some interesting kids come around to that place over the years. So we had our trampoline, and they're just like,
I remember you and Simon were doing like awesome tricks on that, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't do fuck all. I was like, what the fuck?
It's funny, yeah.
I remember you were like,
right at it.
Piranha, you can do a piranha? I was like, fuck, I don't do a fucking piranha.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, I can still do a lot of that stuff, I've reached I probably figured out all the moves that I could do when I was about 12 or 13 and couldn't really do anymore. This is good enough.
Man, I went to a Olympic trampolining place when I was studying for my diploma in like exercise prescription and sports management. And some of those dudes, man, like they can do all the flips. And then they taught all of us how to do like backflips and stuff. So I learned how to do a backflip.
Let's go, yeah.
And like do just continuous flips and stuff. So that was pretty awesome. But like some of these dudes, man, it's just like neck level.
It's insane.
It's another level. And those tramps, they're so bouncy.
Yeah.
Like if you
I've always wanted to go on one of those.
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Like going from, because they had a normal tramp there, going from a normal tramp to that, it's like
insane.
It's insane. And like
it'd be like terrifying. You go so high, it's like this is really scary.
There's sometimes like if you lose your balance and you're already up in the air, it's like, oh fuck.
Yeah. You learn. Yeah, I've learned. I've had to learn the hard way about recovery and mid-air.
Yeah, because I think
there's not much you can do in mid-air, but you can do something.
In the beginning, you guys didn't even have pads, eh?
I think it came with these really raggedy ones that were all just like duct tape and foam.
Yeah.
And we eventually bought some, but they always get ruined and they all fall off. They fall off. We tie it up and the tires break.
You can't even get them anymore, eh? I saw those ones with like nets around
the circles
and stuff.
Yeah, those ones are lame. You can't really jump around.
Yeah, they're so shit.
Them. Yeah. No, if I'd I think I'll definitely if I can, I'll definitely have a trampoline at my for my kids growing up. Like I think it's awesome, especially like one like that. Like have middle bars and all. Like it's got to be a little bit dangerous because you gotta learn.
Yeah.
It's like if you got to be careful or else you get hurt. You do get hurt. And even the kids that come, like there's little kids, that still live nearby, and they come and jump on our tramp still these days.
Oh, true, even now.
100%, yeah. We're like our neighbours. They've got they had little kids, like they're 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-olds. Like
you have the same tramp.
No, that tramp eventually broke.
Yeah.
And so we just got a brand new one. And
but like the same kind of tramp.
Yeah, exact same shape and same type and stuff. Because it was like that one that Dad bought. He bought it for $25, and it was like easily the best money I've spent in my life. Like not even close. Nothing has been better value than that. The amount of hours that me and Simon and Dominic could put into the trampoline is unreal. And then so he's like, I'll just buy a new one. It's $1,000. Yeah, sweet. I'll buy a new one. That's 100% fine. Yeah. Buy all the nice new pads and everything. Yeah, let's just go. It's just easily worth it. And because it's like neighborhood kids come and use it. Like I don't live there. I don't use it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like it's for the kids around.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there's accidents. Like the neighbors, they had their kid. There's some double bouncing or something happened, and the kid, and one of this little kid, he was 3 or 4, pretty young, landed and hit his head on like the metal part, and was bleeding, and it was like, but they're not really angry at us or anything. They're like, we know it's a trampoline, and they have to learn how to jump on it. Like there's techniques, you fall, you figure out, you learn something about it. All right. Be careful double bouncing next time.
I remember playing Crack the Egg.
That's the most dangerous game I've ever played in my life. It's unreal.
And like, man, the amount of double bounces. Like, I remember man, I'm pretty sure like when Simon was the last one, me and you used to, like, if you got two people double bouncing one person, man.
If you get and the timing, you're just like a little bit off, and then you get that boom both at the same time, and it's and then they're like off to the side. Yeah, the egg never goes straight up. That's the problem. They go off to the side, and you're like, you're over. And then you stretch out. You're like, all right, I got to how am I landing on this concrete or on the grass?
It's safer to go on the grass than on the bars for sure.
Yeah, you want to try and get over it, but you don't always get your way. Yeah. No, it's I'm surprised. Like, I haven't actually, broken any bones. No one's broken any bones on it. You just, maybe you get your leg, shoots down in the side, and it scratches you up, and
like, what would you think the percentage would be, like, of people breaking bones on trams? Probably just like more if you're a stupid person.
It's probably adults breaking their bones on more than kids, just because you don't know. Like, because you're heavier, you land on shit, you're just gonna break. You jump up high, and you can jump a lot higher, and then you're like, oh, when you make a mistake, it's big. Like, kids can't jump as high, but plus, like,
but also like you say, like, the more weight you have, the more you can hurt yourself with your own weight.
You just land and
then also, if you think about the average adult, like, they're not running around every day.
Yeah,
like,
they're not used to it.
Yeah, keeping themselves like pliable and flexible and
they're not falling over a lot.
Yeah, like, having body awareness and strength. Like, the average person is just like a 9-to-5 job, not doing a lot of like physical activity. Yeah,
maybe you're going for runs, but but that's not like the dynamic movement that's involved in being a kid.
And even just being a kid, like, kids are so much more flexible. Like, even just seeing my kids, man, they're like so flexible. They're just born flexible. Yeah. Everything. And I think, like, when you start sitting in chairs for long periods of time at school, or like, man, you just lose it. Not doing the movements. Even just wearing shoes, like having your heel off the ground,
right,
all like raised for such a long period of time in your life. Yeah, it shortens the whole back chain of your legs, so Achilles, calves, hamstrings. So a lot of people have tight hamstrings.
Yeah, guys are especially bad. Yeah, I'm terrible with that. Like, my hamstrings and back are tight as anything.
Yeah. And that's one of the components. Like, there's obviously
and that's also a great source of injury as well. Great way to pull your back is if everything's too tight, and then you 100%. Go do something that you're not used to doing. Oh wow, that was heavier than I thought it was going to be. Now I've got to take some back pills, pain pills for my back. Like, it's done, man.
That's the solution. Have a pill. Have a pill. Don't worry about stretching. Yeah. Don't worry about eating healthier. Don't worry about getting in the sauna. Don't worry about. Yeah,
that's the American way, man. It's crazy over there. Like, the way.
Yeah. What was your like experience like in the States?
Well, it's interesting because, like, so my first time going to the States, 2015, I landed in New York, and my cousin was there, stayed with her, and then I had a mate that I went to school with. His dad's American, so their family, when all their kids finished school, they moved back there to Ann Arbor in Michigan, and so I went and visited him. I caught a couple buses and got over there, and then while I was there, I bought a car, Craigslist or whatever, and then drove down all the way down to Miami, and then all the way across the bottom, and then up through Las Vegas and to LA. Stopped at a bunch of places on the way, So, like, that was a pretty interesting experience. Like, I was just, by myself. Like, so I had my cousin in New York, my mate in Michigan, and I've got some family in LA as well, which I met up with at the end. And I was like, you just go there. It's weird. Like, it looks like the movies, and then you start to realize that the way people behave, how you're like, oh, like, that's stupid, like, that's just a TV show, like, people don't actually act like that. It's like the amount of stuff that's like, oh wow, people act like this.
They're like that.
That's like TV stuff, but people actually behave this way is so strange. Like, I don't know any examples, but I just remember feeling that. Like,
yeah,
like,
in
this
terms
is
of
weird.
what you're saying there, like I haven't been there personally, so I can't, testify being in there in person. But I remember seeing a video on YouTube about someone comparing like Australian and New Zealand advertising to American advertising, and just like the difference of like how stupid you have to be to, or not, wouldn't say stupid, but how would you put it? Like
Gullible.
Yeah, gullible, more naive. Like you're just more gullible or naive in this advertising. Where if you did that advertising in New Zealand or Australia, everyone would be like, "What the fuck? What are you doing? Like, what is this?" Like no one would. Everyone would just like cringe at it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Like treating you sort of like a kid. Like
like man, like one thing is some of those Super Bowl ads. You know the Super Bowl ads. You seen those ads?
Yeah,
they're just so over the top. Like that stuff would never work here.
Yeah, that's what I do remember. Like thinking that, like,
so people like actually like that in real life.
I don't know if ads is a good example. I was thinking more like the TV shows of just the general sort of the characters that you get in those TV shows. You're like, well, I've never seen that character at my school. You know,
sure.
And like I've never seen anyone that's like that at my school. And then you like, it's like that's that guy from
the TV show.
Yeah. Like one a classic one. I just know, like, you know how they wear, some of them they wear their hats, like they don't put their hats on properly. They have them like up like this.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was like, it's like funny, like, oh, I'm pretending to be a douchebag.
Yeah.
And I was like, the amount of people that actually wear their things, I was like, oh, do you actually want to look like this?
That's a look.
Yeah, it's a look. Like you're trying to look like a douchebag.
Do you think that comes from the TV show or from the people?
It's hard to say. I think.
Or do you think now it's
merged? I'd say, yeah, I'd say probably nowadays, like the generation, you know, in their early 20s and stuff like that, and maybe even in their teens. I guess I didn't really meet a lot of teens, but yeah, the people that are in their early 20s in America, you know, they grew up on TV, like we grew up on TV, whereas like maybe 20 years ago, they didn't watch as much, and they didn't have, you know, or they didn't watch that many different characters that they could copy, you know. Whereas like now, people have, maybe they have taken a lot of stuff from TV, but there is also those characters do exist, and it's maybe, you know, it's sort of the way that like, you know, you hear more from the most extreme people, you know.
Yeah.
It's like all the stuff in the news. You're like, oh man, look at these crazy people. It's like, like they're the loudest. That's why you hear them more. And so, like, you know, on TV, it's like, oh, these interesting characters. Like, those people do exist. There's not a lot of it. There's probably not, you know, as much as they're portraying on TV. Like, it's you know, every friend group has this guy that does this. Yeah. It's like, not really, but there are definitely those type of people. You know, like, you know, just people you're like, wow, this. Like, how do you behave that way? Like,
sure. But you know what's funny? Like, I was just thinking about it while you were explaining that. Like, if you grow up in America, like, you're only getting American TV. So you're only seeing such a small group of characters or ways to act. Yeah. Well, like, when we grew up here in New Zealand, like, we had American shows, UK shows, shows from other places around the world. Yeah. But it was always contrasted with, like, you know, it wasn't many Kiwi shows, but even just in some stuff. Yeah, just in real life. Like, if we live our daily lives here and we're like, these people from these American shows, man, I never see them. Or you might see one person at school trying to act like that for like a couple of months, but then he'll get over it because there's not enough people. Like, no one's incentivized to do that. Everyone's gonna be like, what are you doing? Oh, you're trying to be like that guy on that TV show. But imagine like everyone at this one school in the States where everyone's being like that, and everyone's in this, like, everyone's kind of like accepting of everyone doing that. Whereas here, that would never happen. Well, maybe it's changed, but
to be fair, it's, I think
things are changing.
It's the way, like, even the way that Dominic, the way his schooling went compared to my schooling and Simon's was like different, you know. Like, I mean, the nature of the school slightly changed, but like, it's like they are the generation, they're different, you know, generation. He's a slightly different generation than me, but it's different.
I mean, like the politics within the school.
Yeah, just like the way, like, I mean, in general, we were way naughtier. Our years were when I was there, like, and you know, we always heard of like the years above us, like, oh, those guys were the naughtiest year. It's like 2 years above them, they were the naughtiest year, you know, like, and it keeps going like that. Where Dominic's year, like, they were not naughty at all, like compared to us. We're like, geez, they're like all good kids. Like, I'm sure there's some bad ones, but like it's not nothing like when I was at school.
Yeah,
you can't get away with nearly as much. Like, it's interesting. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, people would, like, I think I remember, like, probably during the last 2 or 3 years of my high school years, where there was a lot more rules being put in, you know, like, or safety things, oh, you're not allowed to play bull rush on the concrete courts.
Yeah.
Or like just things like that, like things that we've been doing like for years and years.
Yeah.
Like playing bull rush on the concrete courts.
That's
like
beast, yeah.
It's just like what everyone did.
Yeah.
You know, and
there's
was
just
like
no way that would even happen. Like, they wouldn't even think to do that.
Nowadays.
Yeah. They're like, what? Why would I play on the concrete? What are you talking about?
Yeah, man. Like, and the amount of kids who are like, even me, like, just getting like shoulder barged and like getting scraped on the ground and stuff. Yeah, it's gonna happen. Like, it's bull rush.
Yeah,
if you're gonna play bull rush, you have to understand.
You just learn not to, you know, lift your head up. Like, you know, it's like I can get a scrape, but like it sucks when you knock your head on the concrete. Like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like,
Get used to it.
Yeah, figure it out.
Or like, like all the playgrounds are changing. Like when I see the playgrounds today, I'm like, man, these are fucking hopeless playgrounds. Like, what can you do on the playgrounds today?
Weird stuff. Yeah, actually, that happened to the little playground across the road from my primary school. Like it changed while I was there, or like near the end of my year there, and like, you know, they put on all this new stuff, and you're like, what do I do with this? It's like weird shapes, and like, do I just climb on this? Like, it's not that fun. Like,
you can't do it. Like
I don't see any swings and stuff.
I don't see any monkey bars anymore.
Yeah. Monkey bars is good ass.
Yeah, monkey bars was the shit. Like, man, the amount, like, I used to do monkey bars all the time, and the amount of strength you get just from doing monkey bars all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I used to love monkey bars. It was so fun. Like, sometimes you fall off, you know, and you're like, oh, winded.
Yeah, you'd have like one kid a year would break his arm.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah, I think, that was, I like sprained my shin or something, or like I banged my shin pretty hard one time, but that was wasn't broken or anything. That was it. Right back to it, you know. Start swinging. Yeah, it was good times.
So going back to the States, like, you seeing all these characters and stuff. So you end up in what, in LA? Yeah,
so I end up, my car breaks down when I'm about 2/3, 3/4 of the way across the country, and like my car struggles to turn on a few times. I'm like, oh no,
Craigslist,
and I'm like I'm like, you know, near the Grand Canyon. I'm like near nothing, and I'm like, oh jeez, please, and you're like, it doesn't turn on. You're like, come on. Oh, yeah, it's turned on. All right, sweet. I've got to ride this as long as I can. Like, it might not turn on next time I turn it off. Yeah. And then, but made it to LA. Literally, like, I was like, you know, had my Google Maps. So it's like, all right, that's my hostel. So, okay, I'll just go to the 7-Eleven over here and I'll get like a drink and whatever. And I went and parked in there, and then went and got like a drink and maybe a snack or something. And then I came back to the car and it didn't turn on anymore. I was like, well, I made it to LA, and I was like. And like the car cost me like $1,200, I think, American bucks, and I was like, okay, I'll just sell it for scrap. So I got $140 or something for scrap. I was like, that's good, that's fine. Yeah. Did its job, and then, but yeah, like I was interested. Yeah, I stayed at. It's hard to even remember all the places I stayed. You know, like all these like towns and little cities and stuff, and. You know, obviously you remember like New York, because I was there for quite a while. I did heaps of walking around there. You know, you just catch the train. It's pretty buzzy, yeah. You're like, it's just looking up and it's just all there. You know, it's just buildings. This is buildings and buildings and buildings.
Concrete
and buildings,
jungle, they call it, eh?
And they're just so tall. They're so tall, and there's just heaps of them. And you're like, and then like I just go to, you know, what's it called, Central Park. You walk around there, and you can walk around there for ages and like still only make it like a quarter of the way into it. You know,
big
like,
park.
It's massive. It's so massive. Like, and you don't really realize until you, because you know it's all in a grid, all the streets, and you know this side, you know, there's the short ones and long ways this way.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, you figure out how long these are once you know walk past enough of them. You're like, it's probably like 50 meters or something. Or it's hard to remember. It was a while ago, but it's something like that. And then like you look on the map of the Central Park and like the amount of roads, it's like 100 roads or something, and you're like, what the hell? And it just keeps
That's
going.
crazy.
It's like, it's actually enormous.
That reminds me, I don't know if you ever saw that movie Soul Plane of Snoop Dogg.
I might have seen it ages ago.
And they land a plane in Central Park.
Oh, yeah.
Could you land a plane in Central Park?
I mean, it would hit a lot of trees and stuff, but you probably could.
You could.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there's definitely like, like it's certainly enough width, and there's like fields and stuff there, you know, for like sports and stuff.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
like,
huge.
It's enormous. Like, it's enormous. It's like, there's a big like a little lake, like a pond lake thing, and a couple of those, and it's just heaps. Like I literally, I don't think I've made it. I went to Central Park maybe 3-4 times, and I don't think I walked more than a quarter or a third of the way up it. Like, so I started down below.
And how, like, is that like half a day of walking? Or?
Yeah, it would just take ages. Like, I mean, you could walk probably beside, you know, on the roads beside it, and it wouldn't take you as long. But I'm walking inside,
sure.
Winding around and stuff, and seeing what's there. But it's an interesting place. Or New York, and it's all happening. It's always happening. It's all go. But what's strange is like when everything's closed, then it's quiet. Like, they say
it's a city that never sleeps.
They say it's a city that never sleeps, but someone was there that was telling me it's like, yeah, but they sleep in. It's like, no, it's not that it doesn't sleep, it's it gets up late. And like, so it's real quiet. Like, it's quite quiet in the morning. Instead of where I was in Brooklyn and stuff, like, you don't see a lot of activity before like 10 o'clock and stuff like that. It's interesting on like the weekends, at least, from what I remember noticing. I was like, it's like, it's not all go all the time. Like, they talk about it, it's not like, there will be, certainly there's places, there's somewhere you could find, I'm sure. I couldn't find them in, like when I went out with my uncle who was visiting, and I had to catch the train back home. It was my first day there or second day there or something. And I had to figure out how to get the subway back to my cousin's house at like 3:30 in the morning. There wasn't a lot of people around there. It was pretty interesting. And then it's kind of scary, because then when you see some people, you're like, oh,
is it safe?
I think it's safe enough.
Yeah.
Certainly Brooklyn was where my cousin lived, and that had been, you know, was in the process of being quite gentrified, you know. A lot of people would move, you know, a lot of like students and stuff would move in there because it's like cheaper. Then it's all the prices were already going up for everything in Brooklyn. But I did feel nervous for sure. And there was like a shooting while I was there. I was there. I heard gunshots multiple times when in multiple places in America. Like, when I was still jet lagged one night, and my cousin heard this pop pop, and I don't recognize it as a gunshot, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not used to it. And I'm like, oh, it's just a sound, whatever.
Fireworks.
So it's nothing. Yeah, or whatever, or the car. I don't know what it is. Just pay absolutely no mind to it. And then and my cousin gets out, and she's all like panicked. Like, you see that? See the gunshot? I was like, oh, what? It's like, that was the gunshot. So I was like, oh, is it? It's like, yeah. I was like, look, and we looked out the window, and there's this dude running, like, you know, he's got his pants, he's holding his pants up like this. He's like running away, and we're like, oh, what? Was that guy part of it? And like, what the hell? And then like a few minutes, like, you know, 10, 15 minutes later, this cop car comes, and it's like no lights on, it's like silent, and it's like going real quiet, but it's a cop car, and then it like drives onto like the footpath, and it's like driving along the footpath. Like, what is going on? This is so weird. Like, this is crazy. Like, had these gunshots in Las Vegas, where I was literally right outside my hostel. But I'd made friends with a bunch of like these German guys and French guys. You know, there's like 5 or 6 of these guys that I met. We all went out for drinks, and then we were coming back, and then we couldn't go down our street. They're like, oh, our hostel's down here. Can we get to it? It's like, oh, no, it's cordoned off. Like, why? Oh, there's a shooting. And it's like, yeah. And then we sort of like could see where it was like us, like across the road from where our thing was. Some dude drove by with a shotgun and shot some guy. And then one of the French guys was like panicking. He's like, that could have been us, man. That could have been us. And then we're like, no, but why would it be us? Like, why would they want to shoot? Like, I don't think that person just went and shot a stranger. Like, that person knows that person. Like, I mean, to shoot them, like, probably. But like, I was like, this is how America is. That people get shot. Like, that's real interesting.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and you got to think about like in Tucson as well. Like,
do you think like everyone having accessibility to guns is a good thing?
I think it's too late, and so you might as well. Like, it's like trying to take it off people would just be disastrous. Would be way worse than just like keeping it as it is.
Sure.
And so like and to be fair, my thing with it is, I 100%. I think they definitely should have guns, but it's about the restrictions and like when it comes to a city like New York and LA, like big cities of like millions of people, like, you know, cramped spaces and a lot of road rage, and it's like, oh, I'm really angry. Oh, that's right, I've got this gun in my. It's like, that's not good. You can't be carrying guns around when you're in a city. But like, but you go to like anywhere basically. Tucson, they like my ex's grandparents. They live like near the mountains, and it's like, yeah, there's a bobcat that's been around here, so just keep an eye out. It's like there's just
but
animals.
They're quite small.
They're kind of small, but it's like if there's children,
there's like true.
You're that's not good.
There's like cougars around.
There's and it's like and then there's coyotes and things like that. There's always coyotes everywhere, and then like, but it's like this is the thing. Like when my ex, we were camping when she was here, and we went camping up north, and like we were sitting there, and there was like a rustle in the bushes. And she was sort of like at attention and like, what's going on? And I was like, it's literally nothing. Like, it's a bird or it's a possum.
It's New Zealand.
Like, it's a bird or it's a possum. Those are the only things it'll ever be. Or it's a person. It's probably not a person. And it's like, and the person's probably the most dangerous of those things. And then, but if you're in America and if you're camping, it's like, is it a bear? Is it a moose? Those things are really dangerous. Is it a mountain lion? Is it a wolf? Is it, a snake? And you're like, it just, the list goes on of the things that it's genuinely very dangerous. Like, the wire. So it's like, having a gun isn't a bad thing. It's just about, I think it's about the education. I think that's the issue. And and it's like, because my ex was, her family like does a lot of hunting. So they just knew a lot about guns, and they're all responsible gun owners. Yeah. And they're like, oh, this is just perfectly fine. Like, but I wouldn't want it, since New Zealand already doesn't have guns. We don't need them. Yeah. It's like we don't really need them. Like, certainly not in Auckland.
Yeah, Auckland's probably.
Yeah, it's like Simon does a bit of hunting, Oh,
so true.
Yeah. I don't think he has his own gun or anything, but he does a bit of hunting. Yeah, it's like, it makes sense. You're in Wanaka, down south there. You do a bit of. I don't think.
Yeah, but on a deeper level, like, if you go in terms of not just people owning guns responsibly, but like the government being able to, kind of push too far for certain things. Like, have you seen what's happening in Australia?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's pretty nuts. Yeah. And like, do you think that'd be happening if at least like a bunch of people had guns? Probably like less of a chance.
Yeah, maybe, but I think there'd probably be more people. No, I'm sure there are people that are like, those vans pull up and they're like, oh, you have to come to the quarantine place, and there are people like, do I now? Yeah. All right, come and grab me. Like, you can try. It's like that probably does work, and I don't know. It's
even with some of those protests that I've seen in Sydney and Melbourne, like the fact that the police and the people protecting whatever Parliament, whatever, they're just stacked with weapons and everything, and there's people just protesting. Yeah, I mean, whether there's some nutcase in the crowd that you know, make shit go crazy, or there's like government people in the crowd making shit go crazy. Either way, like the people are kind of defenseless in a sense, you know.
Yeah.
And it sounds kind of like conspiratorial to say that, but like that shit happens. Like if the government's like, oh fuck, like we're sick of this protest, like they're not just gonna let this protest go on for days. They're probably gonna do something about it, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, the thing is, it's like in a situation like that, it's like, does bringing more guns into the situation is like, it depends on how adamantly, like how important it is that fight is, you know, like
sure.
It's like obviously there's other ways. I'm sure there's ways you can fight for your freedom without like pointing guns at people, because it's like you start pointing guns at people and then people start pointing guns at you, and then stuff gets really like, okay, now
shit's gonna happen.
We're at maximum adrenaline here.
Yeah.
So something's gonna happen, or it's either something's happening or nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And I don't want nothing to happen. So I want you to stop. It's like, you want me to stop? Well,
I want you to stop.
Okay, well, what happens? Like,
to be clear, I haven't thought enough into this to have a exact opinion on this for like Australia and like different countries and stuff, or even different states. But it is like, when I just think about what's happening in Australia, like, would that happen if they had guns? Probably not. But there's other things that wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, the thing is with it is like, because you know they got rid of the guns for a pretty decent reason, is they had like a bunch of mass shootings over like a 10-year period, and then like it literally stopped the mass shootings, which was pretty good, and like that's a good enough reason to stop having guns. But yeah, I still don't really, I don't really know, you know, if it's like, should they have kept some more guns? It's like, but at some point it's like, you know, who are they? Like, if the government's always going to have more guns. Like, you know, like this. Sure. I was at those Floyd protests and stuff, like around the corner. Like I went to the supermarket or whatever, and just around the corner from my place, because we lived like 2 blocks from Capitol Hill, the Capitol building in Denver, and so that's where like they set up camp. Is there like a statue there or something? No, it's just one of those white buildings. You know, it's the same. You know, it's the capital of the at the center of the city, sort of a thing. And but you know, they had a big lawn out the front, and a bunch of people, you know, moved in there, and then it turned into just a bunch of homeless people, and it was just drug addicts, and it got gross and disgusting. But when it first started, and there was the Floyd protests and stuff, and then I've got a picture on my phone of like one of these armored trucks, and it's about like 10 feet high. You know, it's enormous, at least 10 foot high, maybe like 12 foot high. It's this enormous truck, enormous big wheels, armor plating, and there's like 15 dudes standing out there, all black, you know, like sort of SWAT gear, helmets, and all covered up, and all machine guns and stuff. And I was like, these guys are hanging out here just in case of something. I don't know what, but they're just hanging. And I was like, yeah, there's no, like, we can't do anything to that armored truck. You know, nothing we could do to that, like, no matter how many people there were. But I think, I don't know, it's so strange, like, because at the end of the day, it's like, comes to the point, it's like, okay, so does the army gets told to shoot the citizens? It's like, well, they're all related to the citizens. Like, are they just going to shoot people? Like, is that what ends up happening? Like, it's hard to see that actually happening, you know, like that those guys in that armored truck just opening fire, you know, and they're like, yeah, sweet, no, these people need, it's like, so at the end of the day, they're also people, you know, and they have their own opinions on what should be happening. They're doing their job, but they'll have their opinions on it, you know.
I mean, I don't know, like, I don't know if anyone would ever say the order for that, because that would be so controversial. Like, if you had a bunch of people that were armored and they were like, hey, you need to shoot all these protesters, there's going to be at least half of them that's going to be like, I don't know about that. You know, my cousin could be there, or or like, you just don't know. Man.
Well, you know, that girl's pretty hot. I don't really want to shoot her. Like, it's just it's a weird thing, that. Yeah, I definitely don't have any solutions.
Yeah,
but, but I think, that gun debate's it will forever rage on. I think at the end of the day, like I think America should have guns. Like they should just have guns. It's in, they decided at ages ago they should have guns, and there's got enough reasons to have guns. And it's a matter of, it's like getting a driver's license. Like you should have to do a course.
Yeah. But in terms of like when you were there, like compared to New Zealand, how did you feel safety wise?
Well, you don't think about it, and then when you think about it, you're like, there's either two things. Like either you're walking around by yourself at night and you're like, oh wow, so, like if there's guns, like that's it, hands
fucked.
up, nothing, like yeah, sweet, bro,
take
whatever.
my clothes, take my
all
underwear.
of it, I don't care, like that's it, like no choices. And then there's like when I was in Tucson, that's like they've got pretty loose gun laws where I don't know if they got full open carry, but like a lot of people have. I think maybe it's like they can legally conceal carry and stuff. And like I remember being somewhere with a couple of these American guys, and they were like, and it came up somewhere, and it was like one of them was like, oh dude, like at least half of these people are strapped. It's like, what? So, yeah. It's like, oh. I don't know if I feel safe or unsafe. Kind of probably safe, but I don't like it. So I feel safe, but I don't like how I don't like why I feel safe. Like it's like, but I felt safe when there was no guns as well. Like I don't know. Like once your attention is drawn to it,
sure. Because it's different, I guess, coming from here. Like especially New Zealand. Like because I've been to a bunch of countries around the world, mostly Europe. Southeast Asia, Australia, mostly countries in Europe. Like people are just so chill here. In New Zealand, like people
like, so chill,
just extremely chill. Like most people don't worry about anything. Like the only dangerous places you could go to was like certain bus stations in South Auckland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like as nice as this place is, it's closer to some of the more dangerous places, but it's still not that dangerous. Really not that dangerous. It depends on the time of day or the time of night,
where you go,
and why, if you're walking around by yourself. So.
I remember being in Paris, and I remember going in those in the metro, man, and you're just like literally you're squashed with people. In the metro, and like especially like I remember like before going into the city, because my wife's family live like 20-30 minutes outside of the city. I'd see videos of like people like grabbing phones or something just before the doors close and then just running off, or like even just being in the train, like you're just squashed with people. Like it'd be so easy to be pickpocketed if you're not being aware of what's happening around you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or even just like the amount of tunnels and subways and stuff, and it's like open, like it's 24/7. Yeah. And there's like in the newspaper, on the news, like women getting raped in the train at like early hours in the morning and shit, or like people getting robbed. Yeah. You know, like if you're just in one car by yourself, there's like people who literally go car to car just looking for like people by themselves to like steal shit. Yeah, it's messed up, man. Yeah. I went to Paris and I went to I remember the bit, like I remember feeling like the stations were really thin. There wasn't a lot of, like, it's small because they're old. They're a lot older than like some of the other places that I'd gone to the subway. Like maybe it was just a couple of the stations I went to though, and I was like, there's not like it just seemed old. It kind of it just felt a little more scary than other places. Maybe and there was less people. There was like when there's like only a couple people around, you're like, this is kind of nerve-wracking. When there's like 15 people, you're like 20 people. But I also think because like there's so many people trying to get to France from like all the French-speaking African countries, or like I think they have like 1 million people who like don't have visas. Right. So like if you ever go through Europe, like even in Spain, like when I went to Spain, like around the subways, there's always like African people like trying to sell you stuff, and maybe they are legally there and they're just trying to make money. Like they're probably the good you know, the people that go there and like, oh, what can I do? Let me sell fake shorts. Let me sell these cheap ass souvenirs. That's something I can do. But what about the bad people who get to Europe? Like,
right.
Or what if there's people doing that, but at nighttime doing other things, you know?
Yeah, well, I remember because I did a trip across Europe with my mate, and it was literally like you know, we ended up coming, like we started in I started in Rome, not Rome, no, Frankfurt, and then went across made it all the way to like what's the capital of Turkey? Istanbul, and then headed all the way back to fly out from Amsterdam, and like literally as we were going back across the country is when like they had like 1 million people come into, you know, they had a bunch of these refugees coming into Germany, like 1 million refugees coming into Germany and stuff. And it was happening like, oh no, it started in Greece. Sorry, no, they started coming into Greece, and we'd just been in Greece like a month before, and then they were sort of moving across the country, and eventually that's what happened. Germany took 1 million refugees. They took them into the country, and like crime rates just at the first, you know, spiked hard, and then I don't know if it's gotten better. I think it's gotten better since then, but like we sort of just got out ahead of this really weird wave of the country changing. You know, the continent changing, like, because this wave of people coming out of, I think, like Middle East and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that was on the news, like, a while ago.
It was a while ago, yeah, 6
but,
years
you know,
ago.
it's crazy, like, when you start getting hungry, like, that changes you, like, you know, real human nature comes out, we're all kind of safe, like, we all know we have food whenever we want, like, where we live, but when you start getting thirsty or hungry, how many days is it until you start getting fucked up thoughts, and then that's all you can think about, you know?
Because I certainly haven't you know, gone 3, 4, 5 days without eating. Like, I don't even know what I'd be like, you know?
Sure. I mean, I just from my personal experience, just going long periods of time without much sleep.
Oh yeah.
Like you're not the same person.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. You're not the same person at all. Like you get more stressed. Like you get stressed more easily. You're just more argumentative. You just got a short fuse. Everything just changes. You know. That's just from sleep. Like imagine.
Well, you've probably done some pretty serious like fasting and things like that, right? As well, like being I imagine you've been pretty hungry.
Well, I've done like the longest I've done in terms of fasting, because I've done fasting like on and off, or accidentally or on purpose for a while, but only recently, probably for the past 3 or 4 months, I've done like 17-hour fasts every day. Between 17 to 20 hours fasting every day.
Yeah, just one meal a day.
No, just like I'll start like when you came and we ate downstairs, that was my first meal of the day. And my last meal will be like probably like 6 or 7. Yeah. And then that'll repeat. But say if we go out during the day and there's no food and we come home at like 3 or 4, then that'll be my first meal. So it'll range between 17 and 20 hours. But when I get to like 23, 24 hours, that's for me personally when I feel a change. Yeah. Like it's like a
change for the negative, like
not necessarily. I mean, because I know I can get food. Yeah, you know, that's the difference. Yeah. But what I feel is like you become somewhat calm, but somewhat more focused. You get like everything becomes real clear, but you feel more calm. It's like I'm not explaining, just being calm and more focused. Like the levels of calm and focus in your brain go up together. Right. Do you know what I mean? And those are the two predominant feelings you get. Right. And it's like
a ultimate sober.
Yeah, but I think there's something behind it. Like, you know, back in the days when we were like hunter-gatherers or something, and you haven't eaten for a day, if you're going to catch food, like if you're going to go hunt, you need to be calm and focused. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of makes sense from that physiological standpoint. Yeah. And when you eat after 24 hours, man, that food tastes great, man.
Yeah.
It tastes so good. Like, oh man, it's the best to eat after 24 hours. It's real good.
Yeah, so, because when I started, like, I was in, started working in construction and stuff, I just stopped having breakfast because I was like, well, I could get up now or I could sleep for 10 more minutes. I'll just sleep for 10 more minutes. Like, I'm not, like, I'm more tired than I am hungry, so I'll sleep. And then just like, I just won't have breakfast. And then you have smoko. Back then I was having smoko at 10. So you're like, oh, you wait a bit and you're a bit hungry at 9 o'clock, but I can deal with it. It's 10 o'clock, it's fine. Then now I do, like, I don't have lunch till 12 o'clock every day, and like I just change instead of having 2 smokos, I just have 1 smoko, and you go, and like at 9:30 you're like, oh, I'm hungry, and then you're like, if you're busy, then you're like, well, I just got to do this, and then you're like, oh, it's 11:30, the smoko's in 30 minutes, okay, sweet. But if you're not busy, then it's like, oh, maybe I'll just go across the road and get a pie. I'm not, I'm not on any specific diets or anything, and depends if I'm doing some long hours, I don't feel bad about eating some bad food, whenever I feel like it. But I just stopped eating breakfast ages ago, and I'm like, I actually don't feel hungry when I wake up, like, usually, like, unless maybe I haven't, for some reason I didn't have dinner, or I didn't eat since lunch, if I hadn't eaten for a long time. But and then I found out, like, a couple of years after I stopped eating breakfast, I was like, oh, there's this thing called intermittent fasting. I was like, I already do that. Oh, it's got a name. I thought it was just being lazy. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but that's crazy how, like, I remember when I was going to school and stuff, and there was like all these things about trying to get kids to eat breakfast. Like, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Like, how often have you heard that? Dude. But now there's like dudes that are studying, like, fasting and how we were a long time ago, that, man, if you're like a hunter-gatherer, you don't have 3 meals a day. Yes, no, you're like, you're the whole day you're trying to get food, as the males are out hunting and the women are out gathering, and you have, like, a big meal at the end of the day, and that was it.
Yeah, if you got a meal that day,
if you got a meal that
maybe
day,
or maybe you snack on some of the gathered stuff.
Yeah,
but you don't have you'd wait a couple of days to get a meal, get some meat, but like
and just like having your system like continuously digesting and continuously working all the time. It's just like it's not good for you.
It doesn't feel good as well. Yeah, like sometimes it happens, like it's just holidays, and you end up like, I just don't eat 3 meals a day very often. Like, it's just 1 or 2 for me. It's fine. Like, usually 2, but I can deal with 1. And like, but sometimes you're just, there's periods of time you're just gorging. Like, and you're like, oh yeah, this is all because the food's amazing. The food we have these days is awesome. It's so delicious. Even if you're not hungry, it's delicious. You're like, you try a Big Mac, and you're like, I know it's so bad for you, but goddamn, like, it makes my tongue, tingles on my tongue. Like, the chemicals are there. Like, they knows what I want.
They figure that shit out. In the lab,
eh? I don't get to decide whether that tastes good or not. It tastes good, and and like, but and you gorge, and you're like, oh man, and then you just feel like,
that's another thing, is also the type of foods, like when we had some fruit and a smoothie and those dates and stuff. Like, during the day I always have like fruit because it's light. If I ever have like a burger or something, man, you just get tired. You just want to have a nap. You just 100%. Just like, messes with you.
Was it that it's 3:30itis or something? Like, you just get tired.
It's just harder for your body to break that shit down. As well. Because your body. So I read a book about like digestion and all this stuff, and your body has way more enzymes for like breaking down vegetables and fruit than anything else. So like, for example, if you have, like, they were even saying in the book, like, it's possibly a reason why there's heaps of allergies and stuff today. Because when we, like, way back in the day, so 15,000 years ago, being a hunter-gatherer, they were saying on average we're eating like 500 different types of like grains or like vegetables and grains or whatever. Compared to today, it's only like, what is it? Yeah, sorry, grains. It's only like 7 grains today.
Yeah.
So you like the stores in your body only have a certain amount of enzymes, but it's for like 500 different types. So we're only eating 7. So you're gonna go through those enzymes so quick, and then once they're done, just like some of them get. Have you heard of like leaky gut or whatever? Some of those things can leak in because you don't have the enzymes. Enzymes are like mini scissors that cut stuff up. If you can't break it down, what's gonna happen?
It's clogs you up. You feel those. Go to America, you'll feel clogged up. I'll tell you that much. I think the place where, like, when I went to Minnesota, which is where my ex's family's actually from, like where she grew up, and that's like in the middle at the top. It's cold in the winter, hot in the summer, like it's real humid in the summer. But they're just that's where you see like it's middle America. That's where you see those big. People are just round. Just round, and then so I ate that. When we were there for like 4 or 5 days or something like that, and I was constipated. Like the whole time I was there, I was like, this sucks. Like I was like, if I had to like let out a fart, I was like, oh geez, I need to go outside. It's like, this is gonna be loud as fuck. Like I gotta like push it on, a massive fart. I'm like, god damn, I need to take a shit so bad. Like I literally didn't shit for like I don't think I shit the whole time I was there. I was like, it just made me constipated. I was like, this food sucks. Like I just want to every time I want to eat any of this food, I just want to lie down. Like that's what I want to make. I want to do. Like, this is not. Sucks. Like how do these people eat this all the time?
Do you feel like it's worse there? Like
their water and their milk. First of all, their milk. I worked on a dairy farm for a year.
Yeah.
So when I was at my cousin's and she had grass fed milk in a carton, and I was like, why does it say grass fed? It's like, what do you mean? That's the good stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, well, the other stuff's not grass fed. What do you mean it's not grass fed? It's like, and I was like, oh, corn. I was like, corn. It's like, I remember, like, if we fed them anything but grass, like, we weren't supposed to use that milk. Yeah. Like, they had those cows, that's that like milk doesn't get used.
New Zealand standard.
Yeah, like New Zealand, and we've got real good grass, like, as well. So, like, just the quality of grass makes a difference. But then, like, yeah, it's like grass, and the grass-fed milk was like 4 or 5 times as much at the price. Unreal. And so, like, I had the other milk, and I was like, this is gross. Like, tastes plasticky rubber. Like, just tastes. It's like the texture of it. Like the water as well. The tap water there is like, because I just go to the tap and just fill up the tap and drink, and they're like, oh, whoa, what's wrong with the water? And they're like, oh no, you drink bottled water. Like, what? It's like, no, you don't drink that water. I'm like, what? And the worst was in LA. That had the worst water I've ever tasted in my life. Like, and I was like, just did the same. I stood and I went and I tasted it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like metallic. It's almost like slimy. Ugh. The texture is the texture that really got me. The flavor was bad, but it's like it felt different in my mouth. I was like, this is not. I don't like this at all. It's horrible. Yeah. And I was like, and then so they all drink out of these plastic bottles. It's the easiest. You just get the 24 pack or the 50 pack or whatever 150 pack of those little plastic bottles, and it's like that plastic's like, you leave that in the sun, like you leave that in the sun, and then because I drive across, I leave it in my car, but I was like, that's all the water I got, like I got to drink it, and then I'm drinking, I'm like, oh, this tastes gross now. It's all plasticky. Plastic, it's like this is just plasticky as fuck, like it's gross, but it's boiling hot, so I need to drink it. Like I'm gonna die if I don't drink it. But it was just like that. It's like. And like it just really got to me. I was like, oh,
that's messed up, bro.
Yeah.
That's so messed up.
And it's like, not to shit on America as well, because they do have like, the thing is like when my girlfriend came here, she was like, you don't really have a lot of like vegan options and stuff. I was like, you know what? You're actually right. Compared to America, they don't have. At least they go hard the other way as well. Yeah. You can go to a bunch of these places that go hard, and
it's getting better now though.
Yeah, it's getting a lot better in that sense, and to be 100% fair, the best burgers I've ever had in the world are there, and that's just the most one of the most amazing food experiences I've ever had.
Specialty burger places.
Like in Texas, I went to a burger. I don't think it was a specialty burger place. I just went and got a burger, and I was like, yo, yeah, I'll get this pulled pork burger, And I still remember this pulled pork burger. I was like, this is by far, not even close, it's the best burger I've ever tasted in my life. It's so ridiculously good. Oh my God, like, this is unreal. And you're like, yeah, so this is why they made fast food out of this, because this shit's awesome. And then they just, just heavily commercialized it to feed a lot of poor people, which is, but it's like, I see what it comes from is,
it's
valid.
Pretty amazing.
It's valid. Yeah. You're like, this is good shit. Like, and then you got like Mexican food and stuff as well. The Mexican food is so bomb. It's the fucking best. Mexican food is real nice. It's real heavy, but like it makes you feel quite dense, but it's so delicious as well. It's interesting. But yeah, with the contrast of everything else is full of sugar and tastes gross.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like I've noticed in Australia, Australia's got more options in here, but New Zealand is like just fuck all options for anything, man. Like, hardly anything. Like I remember going to France for the first time and going into a supermarket, and it's like 3 stories. The supermarket.
Aye.
And dude, like they literally have, man, I don't know how to even explain this. They probably have like at least 5 or 6 aisles of cheese and yogurt. Like options
in France
for cheese and yogurt, man. The options are insane. Like it's hilarious. I've tasted some amazing cheese. I got addicted to cheese.
If you're gonna do it anywhere, it's gonna be in France.
And I never liked cheese. Like here, I never really liked. Like I'd eat it here and there. Over there, man, their cheese is next level. The bread is next level. I was never a bread guy, but you eat like bread from the bakery. Man, that bread is that's so good. Like I don't even know how to. Like when we get we get croissants and stuff from like Pack and Save or Countdown.
I was gonna say Pack and Save because
it's so shit, man. It's so
like,
bad. Like even like the pain de chocolat, pain au chocolat, like there's like bread of chocolate in it. Man, like all the delicacies in a bakery is like all on another level. Nothing's ever come close to that. It's really good over there. And they'd be certainly compared to what our attempts at those things here, they'd be a lot healthier as well. Just in terms of the natural, like maybe the process they use to make it, and the ingredients will be slightly higher quality and things like that. If it's in a bakery, certainly compared to Pack and Save. Yeah, true. Those globs of. Well, actually, like they would probably have more variety as well, because like my wife was telling me like she think there's something different with the flour.
It'll be all.
There's something different with the flour. Like, oh man, the staple of a French household is the baguettes. And it's like there's so many bakeries everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's a bakery. And man, it's so good. The bread is like so good. Did you taste bread in France when you were there? Hesitating.
I think I would. I don't.
You probably didn't.
I don't think. Because I had like I was real poor at that point. I had like almost no money. Basically, I went with not enough money to the whole. Like, so I did my 3 months in America and then went to Europe and did 2.5 months there with my mate, like back to back. And then so by the time I got to France, that was like that was the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks of my trip. And I was like, okay, I'm eating like a thing a day, not a meal. Like you have like some snacks. You're like, I just got to save this money for like, I got to be able to get to the next place, like I was down to, hundreds of dollars, and I was like, oh my God, I've got like 3 weeks left. I got like $300 or something like,
100 a week.
Yeah. It's like, you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And so you don't eat a lot. And, so I remember seeing at least, and I was like, oh man, I'd like to try some of these things, sitting like there was the time of like, oh, it'd be nice to sit in a cafe. I was like, I can't buy a coffee. I can't afford to buy a coffee. I just need some water. Like, I'll just have some water. I'll be fine. I was walk around and see some stuff like, I couldn't afford to at that point. But yeah, it was.
I even remember having chocolate in Belgium.
Oh yeah, I didn't stop in Belgium.
You ever go to Belgium?
No, I didn't stop in Belgium. No, we skipped Belgium. But I had I think I had some Belgian chocolate in Amsterdam. I remember like I was like, it's like Belgians because we like that was at the end of the trip. I was like, okay, now I know how much money I have left and how much I can spend. But I bought some stuff and like had some nice food in Amsterdam.
Yeah, Amsterdam's nice. It's a good place.
Yeah. So that was good. Yeah, a couple good meals.
I went there a lot, because heaps of my dad's family's there. It's a nice place.
Yeah, it is nice. It's like
it's trippy how like everyone's like on a bicycle and
unreal amount of bicycles.
You're
like surely like these aren't owned by people. Like there's way more than there seems to be like 10 times as many as there are people.
Oh, I know. You know what's funny is like even like my dad's brother, my dad's younger brother, he's retired now, but what he does in his spare time is he repairs bicycles and has like a bicycle club for people to ride bicycles.
Right.
That's what he does in his spare time. It's it's so part of the culture.
Yeah.
It's like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. And what's the weird? There are all those really old style of bicycle, heaps of the old style. Like it's not like a mountain bikes that you would have here. You know,
it's like classic road bicycles.
Yeah. And so like you're like, I was always looking out. It's like, is there a road bike or is there like a city?
You
got a mountain bike?
You
none
never see any like.
It's real interesting.
You don't even see like race bikes or anything. You just see those classic bikes.
Yeah. So it's an interesting place, man.
Interesting how you're talking about like levels of reality. Because have you ever heard the argument for free will and
determinism?
That's free will versus determinism.
Yeah.
Have you heard the argument to that?
Yeah.
There's a guy called Sam Harris. He's got a he's probably I don't know if he's got the best, but he's got the most famous argument for determinism.
Right.
But he gets really reductionist.
Yeah.
Like
reduces it down to the
because like it took me so long to understand what the fuck he was trying to say, because my whole life I'm just thinking like, free will, everyone has free will, everyone makes their choices, and from those choices shit happens. That's that's kind of how the whole system of the world is set up. Like if you get in trouble when you go to court, like you did something bad, like say if you killed someone, right, you're in court, you're going to be punished. But the actions of that guy doing something to some of your family members is not going to matter because it was your choice. There's no there's you know what I mean, like there's no recollection of being like, oh well, because your parents didn't raise you the right way and kind of gave you a bad start of life, it determined you into this fucked up path. You know what I mean? It's just like at the moment when you do something fucked up, you're responsible for it. And that's how I feel like, well, that's how I felt growing up. Like, you do something fucked up, you're responsible. You don't really think about all the moving parts around you,
the
right?
Influence,
So this guy kind of broke it down. Like, I'm probably going to butcher it, but I can't repeat what he said. But from my understanding of what he said, Sam Harris, he's like a neuroscientist or something. He was like, there's quarks and atoms and they're like different levels of reality, but we only comprehend the level of reality that we're in. So all this other shit happening around us that may affect us in a way that we don't even know, that's determining where we go, where it's like, even if you hear something like what he's saying, or if you hear something motivational and then you say it, like that changes your outlook. Like how your friend like fell down and became like a rock climber, and he's a fat dude and changed his life. Was that by chance that he had this experience and wanted to become this better person, or is all the moving parts around him like put him on this path to destiny for that to happen? It's a pretty crazy argument, right?
It's still an argument. Like people still believe one side or the other. It's hard, and it's very difficult to prove either one. But the last one I heard that was real interesting in terms of this argument was, I think it was Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about how free will is like constrained by time, in that it's affected by time, in that the further you are away from something, the more free will you have. Like I could, so it's like, I could go to Russia next year. It's like, but I can't go this afternoon. like sort of a thing. It's like as you get closer to the time, free will becomes less and less. Your free will range becomes thinner and thinner and smaller, and then you get to the point and now I've only got two options. By the time I've got to do something in the next minute. It's like there's limits on free will.
Yeah,
it's like, and there is a general, like Hebel is there's sort of a general sense like of free will. It's like you could do anything at any time, like right now we could do anything into the future, but as you get to the point then. And it also, it's like the opportunity cost as well. You're like, it's like your free will. It's like, once I do this, I can't do this. Like, it's a weird one. I think, but the determinism is real strong because it's a very strong argument.
You can't see it, man. That's the thing. And we don't have the instruments or the tools to actually.
It's not really something that.
That like how do you measure that? How can you put some kind of tool that could look at every level of reality, interconnect it, and then have an equation to be like, oh, this is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, and at the same time, I remember Sam Harris saying like, well, say if you're someone born like, not what he's saying, but this is an example of maybe something I've heard, or maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know, of like just an example on the same kind of level of what he was trying to explain is that like, if you're born into a fucked up neighborhood, right? You only have so many options. That's your reality. Yeah. What options do you have? Like, join a gang or get killed, or like, how do you get out of that? Like, so in that terms, in that sense, that guy's free will doesn't have much. He's got like different. His options are so limited. Like, even
like with me and you, it's different. Like, it's like I mean, we were lived across the road from each other, but like the chance of you doing meth is a lot higher than me. If you came at us, if we're both, you're 4 and I'm 5, the chance of you doing meth is a lot higher than the chance of me doing meth. That's just what it is.
That's exactly, man.
And it's like this, and you didn't.
It's crazy, man.
But like, it's like, I mean, so what is
even
John,
just looking
Peter,
back
Jonathan,
at like.
I mean,
the family I grew up in, like the chances of me going on a fucked up path was so high. It's so high.
Ridiculous.
Like when I really think back at it, I'm like, man, was it luck? Is it like, it's really hard for me to like pinpoint it because oh man,
I think getting out of there was probably a good thing. Getting out of 4th Ave and being away from John and the rest, because I'm like, I went and visited you a few times before we sort of lost touch, and like when you were just living with your mum, and like as much as like that kind of sucks, like
lesser of two evils probably.
It's like you just gotta hang out by yourself a lot or hang out with your mum, and this is kind of lame, but it's like but you're not getting that as much influence from those dodgy brothers.
Yeah, man, that's just a crazy. Just looking back, and I'm like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the percent was or the number of paths for me to just have a fucked up life.
Yeah.
But it was a lot.
It's almost like as well, like, I mean, there was a chance that 100% of your family, like, there's obviously families where everybody in the family does meth. It's like, and but it's not a lot. There wouldn't be a lot, and it's like, well, I mean, there's just your brothers, right? So, or half brothers or whatever. There's Jonathan, John, Peter.
Yeah.
And like, so 25%. Like, it's like, no, the 75% of people they'll do it and they'll get addicted and they're fucked up, and you're like, I don't know. Like, I kind of remember, like, I remember not really being a fan of Jonathan. I didn't really like Jonathan. He came off as kind of a dick when I was a kid.
He was a dick.
Yeah,
he was a dick to me.
Yeah, that's right. And because he had a PlayStation and stuff. I don't think we ever got like, I remember he lived in that little like caravan thingy or whatever. Yeah. Like, we didn't go. I didn't want to go in there. It was kind of like we weren't allowed to go in there and stuff. And I wanted to go in there. But then like he had like a PlayStation. I was oh man.
Yeah,
it was like, no, we're no way we're going there. We weren't allowed and stuff. I went in there a couple times, I remember. And then like, I didn't know John.
Really irresponsible as well.
Yeah.
Really irresponsible, even when we're really young.
Yeah. But you had a lot more like interactions. Like we sort of like, if I would have seen you have an argument with him, and him, you know, you guys have arguments or something, but I was just standing in the background, like, let's wait for this to be over so we can go back to playing. Like,
yeah.
And then, but it's, and I think I remember going into John's place once, and I went to his house once, into that, and like, didn't know John, didn't have any interactions really with him.
Yeah, he's actually a nice guy.
Yeah,
I think it was just the age gap. Like,
it was just, I mean, he had a kid that was, he had what was that? Haley, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he had Haley, and didn't really hang out with her that much. But then there's the guy out the back, Wayne.
Yeah, I've heard weird shit about him.
That was like, that guy's like the dodgiest guy I remember.
I hardly ever saw him.
Yeah. But I remember going in there one time, and he had a lava lamp, and I was like, whoa.
I remember that lava lamp.
And that's all I remember, like staring at that the whole time. I was like, whoa. But there was like a kid. Wasn't there a kid there or something? There was a kid that lived there that we never really saw.
Oh, I don't know, man.
Oh, and it was
it a girl?
No, a little boy, and it was like maybe Simon's age or younger even. I remember that kid. I don't know if he was just visiting or what, but he was like at Wayne's house. So, and I remember seeing him a couple times. It's like, I don't know, and never really saw him that much or anything. I was like, oh, this. And
I never even.
I remember Mum said to me one time, it's like that maybe she went in there one time, or she, you know, like had seen that guy and just thought like, oh, that guy's fucking, don't like
dodgy.
that guy.
Yeah.
But it was like, but Simon's a fucking pain in the ass, so we'll still send him over to Jason's place.
Yeah.
Simon's that noisy that it's like, oh, we'll risk it.
It's way up the coast there. Yeah.
But like it's, I feel like I haven't had any real massive traumatic experiences or traumatic life. I've just been sort of adjacent to it.
Yeah.
Stuff's happened near me or around me.
Sure.
But it's never happened to me. Like, really. Probably the most traumatic thing was probably when we went to Africa and Simon got real sick and almost died and shit.
Yeah, I remember that shit. Oh, when I heard about it.
Yeah. And like it was like, holy crap, he might die. And it was like, my brother might die, bro.
He got a lung disease or something.
He got pneumonia. Well, they thought he got malaria because they put the blood things, they put it on, they don't really clean them that good, and they just put the blood on the same things, and it's just, they get real shitty measurements and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they rate malaria on a number system, and it's like 5's like okay, that's like pretty decent, and like 8 and like 7 and 8 is like, that's pretty high. Yeah. And like you get close to 10 and that's pretty dangerous, and they were like, yeah, he's a 19, and they're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then like, so there's a chance he had some malaria, that was part of it, but what it actually ended up being is, so this New Zealand doctor, I very, very ironically, her name is Jo Moses, and that we'd met when we went to like this church a few weeks before, and Dad had made friends with him, and she came and had a look at him, and Simon was just like, he couldn't swallow his pills, the malaria pills, because he couldn't get enough breath to swallow, and like, because his chest was full of pneumonia, like gunk.
Yeah.
And then she was like saw his chest, and immediately she was like, oh, he needs an X-ray. I think he's got like pneumonia or something wrong with his chest. So we went and got an X-ray, and then got him out of that shit ass hospital, took him to another hospital. Still not great. It's Africa, you know.
Yeah.
But at least then they started the process of emptying out his he's got scars, you know. They put a pipe in the side of him and suck. It's like mucus, you know.
Yeah.
Well, the start of it's like, all he said. They sucked it out.
They've been doing that to my dad. Because he has because of the asbestos. They do every 3 months. It's from inflammation.
Yeah. So Simon, like, they're obviously not sure where he got it from, but he had one lung was like at least 3. It was like 3/4 full. And the other one was like half full, so it was like
drowning.
He couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
it was like insane, and he was like possibly 24 hours away from death by the time they started.
I don't know it was that bad. I heard about it. I didn't know.
And we didn't know really until after. Like, it was that bad. And I was like, holy shit, my brother almost died. Like, that's crazy. And then like But he was saying like they're like, you know, they put that pipe in, and the first stuff they sucked out there, you know, they kind of missed.
Oh yeah.
Because the doctors aren't good there, so like they're trying to inject them and stuff with IVs, and they've got these really big needles. Like basically in New Zealand they'd be for horses.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford really nice small ones.
Far out.
And he's a kid with little veins, so they would miss like 6-7 times, and he's screaming. And then like so then it comes to the thing, it's like, yeah, they missed the first time, kind of, you know, they didn't get it quite, it like sucked a little bit out.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's not quite right. So they did it again, moved it over and put it in again, and then apparently it's like, first it sucked out like this like hard gunky shit, sort of, you know, like real like, you know, dry snot sort of stuff at the start. Like it was like sucked a bit of that out, and then it's just started sucking the liquid out, and he was like like got this real big breath, you know, and it was like, oh my god, that's crazy. And then that was the beginning of his recovery, and eventually they were like, okay, we'll go to this other hospital, because we were in Tanzania, so we had to send him to this hospital across the border in Nairobi in Kenya. So it was a better hospital, and he was there for a couple of weeks, and then we're like, all right, he's going back to New Zealand, he's got to go to Starship, and that was all paid for, like insurance and stuff, like business class. He was like stoked as business class. Got mean food and like
just by himself in business class?
With mum.
Oh, okay.
So that's the thing, like it was originally the plan was like, Dad was like, oh yeah, I'll take him back, he'll recover, and then we'll come back to Africa.
Yeah.
And then someone told him, like, I think his mother should go with him, and he's like, actually, yeah, that's a good idea. Send because, you know, it's your mum, you know. And so she goes with him back, and then basically Simon gets back, they get back, and then it's like Simon's like, all right, yeah, no, I'm not going back to Africa, bro.
Yeah.
No. So here, now I'm here. Hey, you're not getting me back. Sorry. And then Dad's like, oh, okay, I guess we'll come back.
Because you guys went there on like some missionary thing, yeah?
Yeah, they were working at a school, and at a high school. Like I went to the high school as well, and me and Simon, like we were in the class that Mum and Dad taught. It was like they all had normal classes, and then like so they had like 4 classes, A, B, C, and D, for like, and it was like year 8s, but they're all ages, literally ranging. Probably the youngest was probably about 15. There was, you know, to 14 or 15, and the oldest was like, there was one dude in our class who was like 27 or 28, because it was like if you fail you just repeat or something, or you just start later, or this, you know, like it's just a completely different system. And so but they had their class was like, you have normal classes, maths, English, you know, they do normal shit with the normal teachers, and then every semester, you know, every term, you get to have my mum and dad teach, or the other volunteers, they would teach this class, and it's like sing some songs, and that's the only class that has like colouring pencils. They're literally locked up in a box. It's like there's like colouring pencils and stuff like that, and like and like cool stationery and stuff that's locked in a safe, and you know, and we learn some stuff, and they just, you know, you get this class for a term. It's kind of like the fun one, and then you go back to the normal classes for the rest of the year. And so that was like, we just got a term of that, like fun. That's shit.
Crazy. Where did you live over there? Like, was it in a nice place, or? Yeah,
so we were the brothers, the Edmund Rice brothers, is because it was an Edmund Rice school, and St. Peter's is a Edmund Rice school. And so that's how Dad found the connection. So there's the Edmund Rice brothers that ran it, and then they had a house that I guess was originally for brothers. It had like 6 or 8 bedrooms or something like that, you know, and it had a gate and cage on the front doors and the front porch and stuff like that, and cages on the windows and stuff, and all like real safe. And we got to stay there. It's all paid
like
for.
Good amenities and everything.
Yeah, working toilets and all that sort of stuff. Cool. We had a night guard. And that's true. Dad spent a bunch of time talking to him, like trying to get good at his Swahili. And they went back to Africa, maybe it was 2019 or 2018. They went back because they were just like, oh, we just got to go back and like see some of these people that are still there. And they went and saw some people, and they found out the night guard, Amani. They found him, and like went and,
that's, you know, trippy, man.
We've been like helping them, like helping some. There was a few people we were sending money to. They were sending money to just help out, you know, because like it's good. Yeah, because they went there and identified who are the good guys that are actually going to use this properly, and, you know, use it to help the most amount of people and stuff, or who need the most amount of help. And so like, and Imani was one. It's like this guy had like 9 kids or something, or, you know, a bunch of kids, and we helped him when we were there. Dad bought a whole lot of concrete for him, and we chucked it in the back of our truck, almost broke the bloody axle, and like drove it out into the middle of nowhere where he lived, and dropped it off, and so he could, so instead of a mud hut, he had a concrete building, and so it was like cool. Stoked as on it, real stoked, and it's good to see him. I think they named like one of their kids after like my dad or really? My mum or something like that. Like,
true.
That's pretty funny. But yeah, it was a very surreal experience, man.
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, that makes you like, cause like I used to go to Fiji every year from when I was like 9 to 18 for Christmas for like 4 to 8 weeks. Started living on a farm or a village with like no electricity. Like, you know, you got a long drop. Isn't it? Because
Fiji is quite poor, right?
Bro, it's really poor.
Like it's got the tourism, but they don't see a lot of that money.
But that's just for like overseas companies and stuff. Yeah. Like there's not many wealthy people in Fiji. It's really poor, man.
Yeah, because Mum talks about it. So it's probably even poorer than Samoa, like in terms of like.
I haven't been to Samoa, but it could be.
I think there's a bit more poverty, but
it's really poor, man. And I remember going there as a kid, probably for like 10 years. So like it could have been up to at least a year and a half to 2 years of my life just living there.
Yeah. And jeez, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long, like obviously in separate stints.
That's heaps, yeah.
Yeah, but like especially staying with I always stayed with my Fijian side of the family.
Right.
Like, because I had when I first went and stayed with some of my Indian family, they'd just try to con my parents for money.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they would say like all the shit, yeah, we're going to take him here, here, and here. But they would never take me anywhere.
Right.
Or just like be at home watching DVDs or some shit.
Yeah.
But like with my Fijian family, man, they're just like so happy. Like they're just so happy and they have like nothing, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, just like the contrast of like how they have fuck all.
Yeah.
Compared to how we grew up, we had like a lot of stuff, but they're just so much happier. They didn't even have a fridge, man, for like. Yeah. It's crazy, man.
There's definitely a parallel in Africa. You're like, those people like are actually like pretty happy people. Like certainly all the people I was in class with, they were all, like real happy dudes, and like we made heaps of friends. Obviously, we're the only two white kids, like Simon. So we're basically like movie stars. Dominic actually was like, God damn it, he was like a Kardashian. Like
white baby.
It was like a monkey. If a monkey walked into a school and people, oh my God, like let's play with the monkey. Like it was insane. It was crazy, and it was a lot for him to handle. It kind of made it. He ended up having his behavior went pretty bad in the end because he just felt tormented all the time, basically, because they just wanted to, like, touching his hair, and they just want him to like, they kind of want to make him get angry and like go crazy because it's funny to see. It was funny to see, but like, but all the time. So he would all the time just get real angry and shit and yell at them and shit. But yeah, I just remember thinking like, these guys are like. Went and visited a couple of these guys we made friends with, like went to their house, and this guy, he was so stoked that we went and visited his family, like they went to his house and like they gave us some juice. Pretty sure the juice was off, like they were saving it for a special occasion or something. I was like, oh, that's nice. But it was like, it was all good, like we just want to hang out, mate, like. And like his family were just so stoked to have us there and stuff, and like they were just like so happy, and just there in school they were just like, everyone was like smiley and happy people, you know. It wasn't. It was just so interesting, and you're like, they don't like. I don't know if they don't, because they don't. I don't think they feel like they don't have a lot, you know.
Yeah, because like I think the difference here is like you see the contrast of people who are like really rich and people who are really poor.
Yeah.
So then you kind of have a sense in your mind like, oh, this is where I am in the hierarchy of the society. But when you're just surrounded by like where everyone's poor, you don't know. Like I have some Brazilian friends who said like, the rich people live right next to the poor people, and it's just fenced off, and
yeah.
everyone's angry at each other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can see the contrast.
Because and you understand why. You're like, well, these poor people are just gonna steal from me.
Yeah,
you know, poor people are like,
these
these rich people have stolen all our shit. Like.
Yeah, like I think when everyone's poor and there's not much around, everyone just helps everyone out.
Yeah,
and everyone stays connected because everyone needs each other.
Yeah,
you know, like.
Yeah, they're definitely much tighter communities.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the nature of you just have to share a house with. You have to share a room or a bed with 3 other people, you know? Like,
you have to learn how to like socially get along with people better. You have to learn
you have to be comfortable being very close to people.
Yeah.
And you are, and then you just, but you also, and because, and another thing, like, you know, everyone here has a car. It's like, no one has cars. Like, there's taxis that you have to get. So it's like, you know, you have to walk everywhere. So you walk past all the same people all the time. You know, you just recognize people, and you just, it's your world's a lot smaller, but it's a lot more full. I don't know, like, it's
well, you get to connect with people more.
Yeah.
You get to know people more. You get to know the faces. Like, the thing is, like, I think I mentioned this to you on the phone the other time when we talked. Like, as hunter-gatherers, like, way back in the day, 15,000 years ago, we were in tribes of like 30 to 150. So if you went over that number,
you split off, and
or like there's some like anxiety that's going to kick in. It's like in a big city when you can't recognize all the faces, you have there's that instinct or that nature of anxiety that's like, this person looks a bit dodgy. You might, you know, like, you just don't know. But if you know everyone, you feel safe and you can connect, and there's that exchange of like connecting with them and having a joke and having a good time on the way to do whatever your daily life is. You know. Yeah,
like strangers are way more common than they've ever been.
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
Like, there's a reason, like, they call it a stranger, you know, for a reason. Like, and strangers, and you know, you like, don't take stuff from strangers and be careful of strangers. It's like, that's a genuine concern, because it always has been for hundreds of thousands of years, since, you know, before, you know, when it's like, you're like, okay, well, I don't know that person, I don't know what they want. What if they want to kill me?
What's their intention?
What are they? And it's like, and you learn to, you're like, oh, well, certainly as you get older, you realize that everyone sort of just wants what they want for themselves, and they're not really worried about you. And so like you sort of figure, like, obviously I'm not actually scared of strangers, but I get there's an innate thing in everyone where it's like, strangers are strangers. They're not people, you know, they're not people I know. Strangers are strangers. They're different than people I know. Those are two different things, and like, you're not supposed to be completely comfortable around a stranger. You can become comfortable, but it's not. Yeah, and that's like, I feel like that's a fuel for a lot of people's anxiety. That, you know, people talk about all day. They talk all the time. Everyone talks about how much anxiety they have.
Man, like, I personally, I had never had anxiety before up until recently. Like, when I didn't have the time to work out anymore. Because I used to work out, like, exercise all the fucking time, man. Like, I was literally, my body was just a chemical factory of making endorphins. For ages. Yeah. And nothing ever bothered me, ever. Like, I would be bothered, and I'd be like, you know, if I didn't sleep that much or whatever, okay, I'd be a little bit cranky one day. But it was nothing ever, like, got to me. Personally, where I'd be, like, brooding over it, you know. But when I stopped exercising, when I started getting sleep deprived, you know, when I couldn't do as much, and I'm just like, oh, fuck, well, I can't do fuck all, so I'll just look at something on my phone or some shit. Like, that's when I started getting anxiety. And, like, getting all these, like, you know, anxious feelings and feeling more negative about my reality. And I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck's changed? I'm not working out. I'm not stretching. Like, you know, I don't have the time to plan eating as healthy as I can, like, optimally, like I used to before. That's a big fucking change. It makes a difference. It really does.
I mean, it's all that stuff in your brain, that's all chemicals, you know.
It is, man.
And all that shit you put in your mouth, that's all chemicals.
100%.
It's different.
We're just a bag of chemicals, man.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. And I think most people don't exercise. Most people don't eat right. Like, and if you if you do like a combination of things that is not good for a human, eventually you're gonna have feelings.
Yeah.
That is not good for a human. It's gonna get you. Like your chemical factory is gonna make fucked up chemicals because you're not doing the things that your chemical factory, like you're not giving it the resources it needs to make the chemicals it needs.
Yeah, people they you know, you're like, the thing is, I think nowadays most people know it's like you know, like McDonald's isn't good for you. I know it's not good for me. I'm gonna have it, and it's like, yeah, I can deal with, and like people understand the consequences as well. Like obviously of eating a lot of it makes you fat, but like even the short term of like, yeah, I'm not gonna feel it. Like KFC is a classic example. It's like, fuck, it's like, oh god damn, I don't want any KFC. Like, you know, then you smell it, like, oh, okay, I'll have some KFC, and then the rest of the day you feel like dog shit. Yeah. And it's like, but it's like, oh yeah, I'll just feel like dog shit, and then I'll feel better later. Like people just like, this is how, like, yeah, but I'll just have KFC, like, or else I have to go and I have to research which type of lettuce I want to buy, and like, oh, I don't want to eat kale. It's not, it doesn't taste good enough. Like, or people, the classic, this guy, American guy I knew, and he's like, it's like, nah, I don't really like water. I'm like, that's so dumb. You're such an idiot. It's like, drink water. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, man. People who don't drink water.
Dude, yeah, they're like, yeah, I don't like the taste of water. I'm like, that's so stupid.
Water has no taste.
Bro, smash it. Yeah, it's like, drink so much of it. Like, I figured that out when I was drinking heaps of water when I was on the farm. Like, that's when I just had a bottle, and I mean, it was, the plastic's not great, but that's what I had. And I had like it was like a, you know, like a 1.5 liter bottle, but I had like a, you know, the cap you can open, you know, like the old style, you know, you use Beyblades, just a white cap that you pull the top off, you know, the classic style of like a pump, pump drink bottle. I know what you mean. Yeah. So I just put that on it, so then I could, and I would, you know, half freeze it, and then fill it up. So I just have cold water all day, and I just smash it because I was like, oh, this is just cheap ass. Yeah, this is way cheaper than buying fizzy drinks and shit. And like, and I'm just thirsty and just and it's good for you. And then when I brought that to university, it meant I didn't. Hangovers were all good because I get home and I just squeeze it and just suck up like a liter of water and then I wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh, I'm not too bad, eh? Like, it's like, but it's like. It's just, and having
water's like the number one chemical you need.
Yeah,
you know, it's like the number one chemical.
And like, when you're really like, if you go for a big ass run and you're real thirsty, and it's like, and if there's a bottle of Fanta and there's a bottle of water, it's like, you try and have that Fanta and you're like, oh, I have a bit, and you're like, dude, I need some water now. Like that didn't satisfy me. It makes me thirstier. And it's just water. It's so satisfying to drink water, you know, like compared to anything with sugar and stuff in it. Like you know, Justin Bieber, like when he first came out, you know, like that guy's lame. Yeah, you know, because back then I was still in school, and he was like our age. Yeah, he's the same age as us, and it's like,
and all the girls liked him.
It's like, but he had his high voice and like, baby, and you're like, oh fuck, that's a dumb song, man.
But it was catchy, man.
Yeah, it's catchy as fuck. And then like as the years go on, he like makes some other songs. I'm like there was in Europe, it was one of his, when I was with my mate, a couple of his songs came out, and we were like, these are fucking jams, bro. I love the song. This is sick, dude. And then like, this is like, I don't mind. And then like, seen some stuff, and I'm like, I saw this, this comedian Bill Burr.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good.
And he talked about, like, he was on a talk show, and it's like, what do you think about this guy? It's like, dude, I think he's all right, you know, like what else would you do at that age with that much money and that much fame? Like, it's like, if I was there, I'd probably die doing a bunch of blow. Like, I'd just do a bunch of coke and die. Like, it's like, that's kind of what he did. He did a bunch of coke and shit, but he didn't die. But it's like, it's like, you sort of look at it like, it's like, oh man, I would hate to be Justin Bieber. I would hate to be, because how do you know how do you know what people think of you? How do you know any true people around you except for like your closest family?
That's tough, man.
And then like you'd believe like you've got these mates, and then shit goes down and you're like, these people, they just fucking disappear. Like, I thought that guy was like my best friend, or one of my best friends ever that I've ever, that I got on well with. It's like, because you're just doing drugs.
That's why, that's why I always thought about like famous people or people who have a lot of money. They probably just want to make friends of people who are already famous because they know they're not there for fame or money. It's like,
if they've already got it.
Yeah.
But still you're still in that fame world, so it's not real.
It's like how
hollow.
Johnny Depp got ripped off by that movie star chick.
Yeah,
Do you hear about that?
Yeah.
Like even in that, like, it's because that's another level. Like his fame and money would have been fucking way more. Like she was a young chick or like late 20s or some shit.
Yeah. And she did well herself. Like she was alright. But it's like, I remember thinking about that thing. I was like, it just really sucks for him, for both of them, but for him that like literally every single day we're getting new information on like what happened in their relationship. It's like, why? Like it must suck that everyone's like, it's like you have your whole relationship, like it's toxic and shit. It's like it's just exposed to the world. And you just got to live tough. like it's like, so now everyone you meet, they know like what happened between you, like, and they have an opinion on whether on what was done here, who did this and who did that, and it's like
but it's tough because even like with all the reports and stuff, it's so much easier to make an opinion on something that you haven't emotionally experienced or been there. You know what I mean? Like when you're emotionally in it, like it's so much more difficult to be rational or whatever, right? Like we're more emotional. Like rationality is like a skill. It's not a human nature thing. Being emotional, that's human nature.
And being rational is also not people treat it like it's like, well, you should be rational first. It's the most important thing to be rational. It's like, well, actually people should be emotional and irrational. Like you should do like there should be irrational shit that you do. Like it's like going to save someone that's drowning and like you die, save it. It's like, but that's 100% irrational to go and save that person that you don't even know, to go and try and save. Like you could drown saving someone from drowning that you don't know. It's like, but fucking do it, because it's like, or else you sit there, or else you stand there and you go, there was this one time I watched someone drown.
It's like, then you have to live with that.
It's like there's this rational emotional line of it's not all.
Well, everyone's gonna have a different line as well.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's and I imagine having twins and having kids. It's like rationality is not at the forefront.
Dude, it's
you're like I don't know, just
you know what happens, like well, for me personally, like I think as you get older, you get more, well, hopefully if you're growing as a person, you get more rational. But without they say like males, their brains finish construction at like 25 and females 22 to 25. So I think like from the mark of 25, like emotionally you start getting more intelligent just because everything's set in place. Things become a little bit more clear, whereas before that it's still under construction. And your brain's like, oh fuck, well we gotta sneak out of the house and go to a party to figure out what that's gonna do emotionally. You know what I mean? Like you just do stupid crazy shit. Just you like push boundaries and figure shit out. You just have to navigate through the world and figure shit out. Once you've done those things, like you emotionally, like things, you start to get more emotional and intelligence, or how would I say that? Your emotional output, or the amount of emotion that can be within your body and your mind or within your reality gets enhanced. When you have kids and you got a family and stuff, it's like even enhanced, jacks that shit up. And then not just that, but being like sleep deprived or like all these other factors that I wasn't prepared for, all these things that happen, it gets jacked up to the max, and it takes so much time to figure that out, as like personally, as a couple, as a family, to be like, oh well, the situation is kind of putting things out of whack. We gotta figure it out. When I think a lot of people go wrong, like I've heard a lot of people like some mates are like broken up, they've had kids, it's like, oh well, that's how women are, whatever. And I hear a woman's side, oh, that's how men are. And I'm thinking, no, that's just how humans are. Put in these situations. Like people are thinking of it from the wrong perspective. But when you are in this situation, it's hard to be rational and think like that. It's so hard, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I mean, kids, just like the kids don't do rational things.
Nah.
Like, so you've just like you can't sit them down and you go, that was an irrational thing and you shouldn't do this. They're like,
no,
cool story, mate. Like,
they didn't do shit.
Can you let me go? I'm gonna run again. I'm gonna try and run and jump over this thing again. Like, it's like it's
just what it is.
And you're like, all right. So But I hear about you've experienced it, and I'm yet to experience is, they talk about, it's like when you have kids, you're just like, you think it's like I think it was Ryan Reynolds, he was saying, he was like, it's like, I love my wife, like when I first married my wife and stuff and first met her, so I was like, I would die for her. I'd jump in front of a bullet. I would do anything. I would die for her. As soon as my daughter was born, I knew at that moment that if someone was shooting at us, I would grab my wife and use her as a shield to save my daughter. It's like it's not even this. It's it's a whole different level.
It's a different level, man.
And there really is no explanation. It can't be properly. You can only imagine. It's hard
to explain. I remember the day after my daughters were born, and I was driving home. My wife and the twins were still at the hospital, and I was just driving home. And obviously I was sleep deprived as well, just because
it's a stressful time.
Couldn't sleep the day before they were born, just from excitement. And then the day they were born, I stayed the night at the hospital on a shitty bed. And then the next day I'm like going home driving, and then you're just emotional as well. And when I was driving in the car home, I just had this feeling of like every single emotional component, like happiness, sadness, excitement, everything was just at max at 100. Like if you in a game when you have attributes, everything was just at 100. And I was just driving and I was like super happy, and then I was like crying and shit. I was like, it was just a crazy experience to just feel every single emotion all at one time. And I've never had that like ever with anything else, no drug or anything. You know what I mean? And even just the realization of like thinking back through my childhood and being like, fuck, whatever happened to me, no, that's not happening to my daughters. You know what I mean? Especially that hit me the hardest. Like that's when I had that contrast, I was like, fuck, my childhood was fucking messed up. I don't want that for my kids. Like I was brought to tears about that stuff. There's a lot of messed up shit that happened to me or happened around me. And to think of like, a child that's innocent, doesn't know anything. It's like, fuck, it just so saddening to have that thought and imagery and feel that. But at the same time, you're so excited and happy that, and it's, you can't even believe it for like a month. You look at them, you're like, huh. Like,
do you feel like you're like, it feels like it's they're part of me is them in them. Like, do you feel like, or do you see it? So do you see it in some of their features or something? I guess you'd probably easier for you to see your wife's qualities in your kids because it is an outside experience. Like it's harder to imagine yourself. To know yourself as much.
How
as
so?
Well, I'm just imagining looking at your daughters and like you. It's hard to know. Like yourself, but how you're perceived is a different thing. Like how I see you and how you see you is a different thing, right?
Yeah.
And so like, do you see you in your kids, or is it, well, like, can you see that mixture between you and your wife, and do you feel like one's stronger?
What's funny when you say that? The funny thing is, I'm gonna tie this all up. But the book that I read on raising girls in the 21st century, I think is a book written by Steve Biddulph. He's from Australia, Tasmania. And he goes into like psychology about how babies learn emotions, and I'm not sure if you said personality, but I have an intuition that it's like they have no control of anything, and everything they learn comes from you, emotions, whatever, everything, right? So when they get, even now when they cry and they're super upset, they don't know how to calm themselves down. They need to be close to you to feel you being calm, for them to be calm. Do you know what I mean? They need to feel that emotion in order to be like, oh fuck, here's that emotion, let me take it, now let me use it. They can't make it themselves. You know what I mean? So the thing was, the oldest one, she's always been more loud, and she's always wanted my wife more, right? Because she cried more, she always got my wife more, right? And so the younger one got me more, right? Do you know what I mean? Right. So like I've spent way more time with my younger daughter, and my wife spent way more time with my older daughter. And before I even read the book, I'm very observant of them too. And my older daughter has more personality traits similar to my wife, right? And my younger one has more personality traits similar to me. For example, you know how I am as a person since I was like 4 years old or something, right? And like how whenever I've got super into something, that becomes my life, pretty much. Right now, my youngest daughter, when she learned how to do any skill, like for example rolling over, she wouldn't sleep. She'd be rolling over, and she'd be crying because she wants to sleep. She's like, oh, fuck it, I need to learn how to roll over. Like she'd do that. Like it was so funny. Forever for her to get to sleep. When she was like trying to learning how to walk, she'd be running into walls. She would like go to the extreme of everything. Like it just became her life to learn this new skill. You know what I mean? And the other one is like, she started dancing first, but eventually, like for example, when my younger one sees the older one dancing, she's like, oh, I'm gonna start dancing. And then when the older one sees the younger one walking first, she's like, oh fuck, well I gotta start walking now. You know what I mean? So it's like she's more similar to me, but they start learning with each other anyway. You know what I mean? So
they spend all their time together as well. So
so that's been, because I'm like, oh, I've kind of like Bluetoothed my base personality to her, and my wife's Bluetoothed her base personality to my other daughter, and now through their own experiences they're kind of becoming their own. It's people.
Almost Bluetooth's not even a very apt thing, because it's the physical touch is involved, so it's almost more effective than the wireless. You know, it's like that you, like you're describing, you know, they feel that physical, you feel your emotion. I understand that as well. Like they feel your heartbeat and all that sort of stuff.
They gotta feel it. And I kind of intuitively, I think it's like, even like, I don't know if it's like there might be genes that's already in them that have to be activated by this, or I don't know what it is, but there's, if it's a combination of both, or if it's one or the other, or those two plus other things. But it's definitely like having twins, especially, you can see the difference. And having that one spends more time with me and one spends more time with my wife. Like you can see like
the amount of difference it makes. You can in 14 months, you know, it makes, I'm sure you'd be able to see the fork it makes.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting. But
I mean, even now, like within our daily lives, like how malleable are we to be influenced by other people's like personalities and perspectives and opinions and feelings, you know what I mean? Like even that, like you may have had this base set of attributes or personality, and you may have had some certain changes along the way, but how many other influences can change your path or change your perspective, you know? It's really interesting. Interesting.
It's a trip, man.
Kids. Even like, dude, the first thing, I didn't even know this was a thing, but like loss of identity, like
for you,
for sure. Like going from like, you know, being in a really good shape, doing
this avatar of like I work out and I have this job and I do this and I do that, and then it's like
you have this role, like, and you're connected to like these things that you do. And because at the time I was in a really happy place, and all these things made me really happy as a person, you know. And then having to slowly give that stuff up, and then you just becoming a full-time caregiver,
and you're just the hands that are changing those diapers,
and then like all the work that you've done to build, you know, shape me into what I wanted to be, that's put on hold now. I got to be this role now, and you kind of lose that identity, and you're like, it's a real bummer, because you've put so much effort into it,
right?
And I didn't even realize it. I knew it was something else, like it did, like, I felt frustrated about it, but I remember seeing this post on some like Instagram baby thing about saying, like, you know, this is what happens when you become a parent. Like, you know, mom can get postpartum depression, dads can get this, or both can get this, or whatever. Like, these are the things that can happen to you. Right. That was the only thing that happened to me.
Right.
But there's a bunch of other shit.
Because that's
psychological, emotional.
The loss of it's an interesting, because like obviously you sort of mourn the loss of that identity, but surely it's replaced by something that's, I mean, I guess it's hard to feel like it's important all the time, but it's a very important, it's way more important that you make these kids good than you make yourself good.
For sure.
It's like this, surely, you know, it was way more important that they become good people than you grow. You know, 100%. It's like, we'll make them grow first.
100%.
But it's like
it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
But in some sense, it's like, you know, somewhat humbling, and also somewhat like force me personally to like take a step back and be like, kind of review everything that made me, like review things. Okay, I was in really good shape, but how could I get in better shape? Because when you're going through it, there's not as much time to like review. I was doing this job, do I really want to work in this job? Like, I have this passion, like, should I should I invest in this? Like, you get to reflect on everything,
because you're a non-stop guy. That's the sort of person you are. You're a non-stop guy, and to be forced to stop is an interesting.
It's like asking my dad to stop working when he was working. You know what I mean? Like,
and then he's like, oh, why am I drinking again? Like, I was just drinking because I'm tired at the end of the day. I have I'm just sitting around now.
Kind of like that. So, but it just forces you to reflect, because what else can you do? You know, it's like,
because you've got a bit like that's the reality of it as well. Is like, that's what I understand. I remember Dominic being born and looking after him. It's like, the reality of a baby is like, you just hang around, you just sort of there, and and stuff happens. You know, they take a shit and they take a piss and they eat some food, but you sort of just hang around. So you sort of like, and it's like, you're making sure they're not hurting themselves, but like, not much is always happening. Like, when I was on the farm, my cousin, his wife was pregnant, and I was like, having these talks with her about it, and she was like, I was like, getting kind of nervous. It's like, what do we do all day? I'm like, from what I remember with my brother, it's like, you just look at them. It's like, it literally takes all day to just, like, you just do that all day, and it's kind of awesome. It's like, it's pretty awesome. You're just like, he did something. He looks like, he did this cute little thing. I was like, he made this crazy thing happen. You're just like, oh wow, he's changed. Like, he does this now. You're just observing, and you're like, it's actually the observation is just enjoyable.
And it's also like, you don't really remember those years of your life, so it kind of fills in that part of the human story for you that you don't remember. You know what I mean? You don't remember being that young, but now I get to see it, and I'm like, that's what I missed out because I couldn't remember. Because my brain was under construction. You know what I mean?
And it probably gives you a certain sense of, like, as much as you go, my mum, she was a narcissist and she did all these bad things. It's like, but she had to change a lot of diapers, I think.
Yeah.
I probably threw up on her a few times.
Yeah.
Like she did that, like that part, that happened.
Yeah. She did the parts she had to.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like that with parents. You're like, parents, they had to do that thing. And it's weird because I do have this weird perspective of like I can remember I was a kid, so I didn't have to do that stuff, but I watched it all happen. And I was there, and it was like
it's totally different when the responsibility is on you. And I think for mums, like it's so much more, because they want mum more. And there's things like sometimes they don't want me to feed them, they want mum. Sometimes they don't want me to do this with them, they want mum. Sometimes they'll like misbehave when I change their nappy. I hardly change any nappies now because they'll just fuck around. They're like, this is dad, like he doesn't know how to change a fucking nappy.
We don't respect him.
Kick some shit on his face. Let's get shit on our legs and rub it in the carpet, like you know what I mean. When they can get away with something, they'll do it. So
I think there'll be that dynamic will change. It'll go up and down where they'll it'll be like, oh, daddy, because daddy's girl sort of a situation.
Apparently in the book that I read, it happens around 2.
Oh, okay.
When girls really love their dads. 2 until like 5 or some shit, and then
then it
something
depends,
like that.
On the situation, but it's like, because there's a lot, they talk about daddy issues and stuff, because
that's a real thing, man. And not just for girls, but for dads.
But like it is, but there is a thing with it's a different dynamic with the opposite sex.
Yes,
like
it is a different.
A woman having a son and a man having a daughter it's just a slightly different dynamic. It is like so daddy issues for a girl aren't the same as daddy issues for a guy.
I think it's
mother
bigger.
issues for a guy is different than mother issues for a girl.
It's always the opposite. That's the bigger. Could be the bigger negative. More intense effect. With the positive or negative.
And emotional interaction is more intense, probably. It's
mummy's boy, daddy's girl. That's why the sayings are there. It's there for a reason.
It's definitely a thing.
It flew by.
That's pretty good. I've been thinking about like, oh man, I wonder what it'd like to be up on a podcast. That'd be pretty buzzy.
Well, like
I've listened to enough hours of it.
I'd actually eventually I guess I'm taking this seriously. I've bought all this equipment, but eventually when I can get my identity back, in some set, I would take things more seriously. Or like once I get an internet connection, I'll start uploading these things and just have to figure out how to edit them properly and stuff. It's another learning process to go through, but
something to do. While you're you got all that spare time on your hands.
Pretty much. Man.
Because you have so much sleep and
oh
god, these kids are always sleeping. Maybe I'll figure out how
to do something.
Video edit. That's good.
Sweet, man. Should we wrap it up there?
All right.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Cut that off. Should do it again sometime, actually.
It's cool.